Okay, this video is going to talk about how to figure out your pricing if you are a coach, consultant, or have a service. So this video is specifically about figuring out your hourly rate. And then there'll be another video specifically about programs or packages. So two different ways to charge. And I would say right now, a lot of people do different ways, correct? Um, so the packages and programs are for specific things that you're going to offer, like a coaching package or a program that has specific things within it. But your hourly rate is for if you're doing coaching, consulting, or a certain product or service need. So for my business, I've been in marketing, communications, and education, and I have charged an hourly rate, and I have a couple different hourly rates depending on what it is. So originally, when I started out, I just had one hourly rate and it was equal across the board. But soon I found out that my competitors were changing the rates. And so, in order for, and if someone was looking just for, say, a copywriter and they came across my higher rate because I had figured out a common rate, then maybe I had the potential of losing work. So instead of doing just the hourly rate, which originally I think I had figured out at $75 an hour, and maybe even when I started in business, we were like more like 50, then raised up to 60, raised up to 75. That was our general rate across the board. When I would go and freelance for someone, because I didn't have to market as much and I was going into their business and it changed the dynamics, maybe they had the computer, but I was freelancing, my rate was more like 25, 40, 50. So that's how it raised over time. But when I'm in individual business, you do have to charge an hourly rate that is higher than if you were an employee, because you have to figure in your taxes and all your other expenses. You've got medical expenses, you have medical expenses, you have your taxes, you have your overhead, gas, and then you need to include your cost of living a little bit so that your everything is covered, right? So, and then there's the industry norms and standards. I was looking through my books to see what I had as far as handbooks of pricing and strategies. And I just recently moved and I pulled out a couple books that were some of my favorite. Now, this is from a long time ago, so you guys are going to appreciate the graphics. This is from the American Graphic Arts Guild, and this is a handbook of pricing and structuring. And it's a great information. This is old. This is an older one. I'm going to look and see when this was 19. Let's see, it started as 1987, 1991, and then the latest was 1994. Now, I saved this one because I actually really like how they break everything down. And what I've noticed over time, because I have these later versions that are like on PDFs, is that they didn't really change their pricing structures that much. And this compares like corporate and institutional illustration, book jacket design. It has all different things for illustrators, salaries and trade customs. It also breaks into the pricing and marketing, legal ethics, agreements, how to put together trade practices and contracts. So when I go over pricing with clients, I make sure that it's about them. It's not about me. The agreement is about them. You need to have conversations with them first and make sure that whatever you're pricing and you're putting together, even if you're doing hourly rates, is about them. Okay. So your sales process is not about you and about what you do, it's about them. You're finding out questions about them so you can tailor your services and products for them. And your services are always tailored for your customer and your client. That is a real key, because I've seen a lot of people that come in and say, well, this is my price and I'm just going to put it on there and this is what I do, and they lay out everything that they do. Well, they didn't give a chance to their customer or their client to buy, right? Because their customer or client has to see how they fit in with working with that person. I think that's the real key right there. And so your agreement should really focus on what is the focus? How are you guys going to work together? How are you partnering together? What is your communication style? What is your leadership style? How are you working together time management wise? How long is this going on? Is it like just a one-time thing, or are you working together over a period of time? And so you're laying this all out step by step, customized for the person. Now, as you get into business longer, you can create like forms, and you just change little elements. Don't tell anyone this, but you just change little elements and customize it for the person. But you have a kind of like a standard agreement that you use that's customized. Um, and so again, you want who you're presenting to feel like they are connecting with you, and that you really care about what you're offering for them. Now, in some cases, coaches, say business life coaches, mental health practitioners, there's probably quite a few other places. Maybe it's not as customized because you're really just coming in, having conversations with them, and then leaving, right? And they're giving advice when they're there. So then that you just say, "This is my price," because it's just conversational. A doctor's office, same thing. You're going into the doctor's office. This is the price of the hourly rate. So, but if something's customized or you're doing creative work, then it changes, because creative work, especially, it's a little bit harder to estimate ahead of time, like how long something's going to take, unless you've done it for a long time. Like, I know if I'm doing a simple logo, it's going to take me 10 or 20 hours. So it's easier. And I know, like, I can also tell who I'm going to be working with, like how easy, just from the first couple of conversations, how easy it's going to go as far as us working together. And so then I can adjust my price accordingly. I just recently did a logo for someone, and I could tell just by us getting on a couple phone conversations that we were going to work really well together. And she had done her research and her homework ahead of time and had some ideas about what she wanted. But I could tell from the conversations and how she answered the questions I asked, that she was pretty comfortable and pretty open with the ideas that I would present to her. And she really liked kind of my style. And I shouldn't say kind of, she really liked my style. So I could understand, she really liked the logos I'd done for other people. She really liked the simplicity and the ease of how I worked. And so I could tell we were going to work really well together. So I was able to just give her a price, a real easy price, like $500 for a logo. And she was going to use it locally. And so I thought that was a great rate, right? So I could create this logo. I would present the designs to her. She would probably say, "Oh, I like that. I like this a little bit better. Let's combine that." I would go back. I would make like 3 revisions, and I'd give her the final piece, the final logo, and I'd give it to her in a couple different versions. Guess what? It went exactly as planned. I was so excited. So I'm super excited when something happens like that, and it's just really smooth and really easy. And I've had other times where I'll do a logo design, and it's maybe a little more of a complex logo, and I can tell that the person is a little more hesitant about moving forward. So I would give like a range, so maybe I would say it's going to be $800 to $1,500. And then if we start working on it and I start realizing it's taking longer and longer, they're having troubles making decisions, they're having troubles moving forward, even though we've presented excellent logos to them, then we have a conversation and say, "Hey, look, I'm like at this range. I gave you this range, and I'm kind of approaching that $1,500 level just with our time that's been going over, and we're kind of going through more rounds, or we're kind of going back to the drawing board. So what do you want to do?" And then that person, you can have the conversation, and that person helps you figure out what to do, right? So those numbers that I'm telling you about are based off my hourly rate. So how do you come up with your hourly rate? There's a couple different formulas that you can use for coming up with your hourly rate. I already mentioned you can go do research. You can also look at how many hours in the week can you work. So you need to take out your travel time and your lunch time, and then a little bit of downtime, as well as take out some planning time for you, for your business. Okay. So I use my like Sunday nights or Mondays to do planning and to do accounting and invoicing and planning. I know I said planning, but I could say it again and again because we all need to do more planning or just taking some time for ourselves, for our business, being that leader of our business. The other thing is marketing and communications. You need to have some time each week that you're reaching out for marketing and communications that you can actually be doing work. So if it's an actual 40-hour work week, or you may only be able to work, say, 30 hours of a price, that you can put on that time. And the reason this is important is that maybe our rates can't be as low as we think they should be because we only have so many hours to work. Now, if you have kids at home and they're online school, you have to think about your time also being flexible. And so you may, if you're saying 30 hours a week, but you actually need to be available for your kids more, you may have to look at working in the evening. Now, at one point in my business, I was super busy and I seriously was working 60, 70 hours a week. I had so much work, and I had a client that had a lot of needs, and I didn't feel like hiring another person at the time. So I just did it. I got in there and I just did it. And this was a couple of years, and I had young children. And guess what? I burned myself out. I burned myself out to the point that I said I couldn't keep doing that. I look back, and that's probably one of my biggest regrets in business and in life, to be quite honest, is that instead I should have said, stop. I need just a break. I need like a week to think about this. I need to get out of this stressful situation, and I need to hire someone, and we need to figure out how to do it. And we need to bring in another client so it wasn't so stressful, especially on me, with having young kids and just going gung ho all the time. I kept saying, I'm not stressed. I'm not stressed. It wasn't until later that I was able to look back and say, holy moly, lady, you were stressed. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't work 60, 70 hours a week over and over and over again, thinking that you are really enjoying what you're doing and you're not stressed, but you are. You have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself breaks. You got to go out and go on walks, exercise. You got to make sure that you're eating good. All this is healthy and fun choices. And that's part of this. Part of what we're learning here is the better we fuel our bodies, the better we produce. And so in that time where I was working tons of hours, I actually was doing really good with food and exercise. I was playing soccer, futsal. I had a great support system. I was just having a lot of fun, but I wore myself out. So anyway, so what I did learn from that is I needed to change my rates and not be one consistent rate. So I think that's where actually I kept feeling like I needed to add hours because I was this one consistent rate. So after that, we adjusted our rates, and we did like a copyright rate. I did a creative rate. I kept that at 75. I did a consulting and coaching rate at 150. And then I had some lower rate for production. So then I was able to compete a little bit more with what people were finding online. And I didn't risk having to work so many hours to stay up with the Joneses or whoever it is that you want to stay up with. So how do you figure out your hourly rate? Sorry, that was a long story, but an important one. I've worked with hundreds of business owners. I've seen lots of turnarounds. That's what they're calling right now pivots. We've always called turnarounds, adjustments. So you can figure out your hourly rate. You can hourly rate. To figure out your hourly rate, you can add up your hours that you can work each week, multiply that by how many weeks you're going to work for the year. Make sure to take off vacations, holidays, breaks. So if it's a 52 weeks in the year, maybe you figure on 45 weeks or 48 weeks at, say, 30 hours a week. Multiply that multiply that amount, and then and you'll figure out how much total time you have available, and then figure out what do you want to make for the whole year. Do you want to make 100,000? Do you want to make 300,000? Do you want to make 500,000? And then divide that by how much how much time you have available. And you're going to come up with an hourly rate. And now take that hourly rate and go do some research and figure out, how does it compare to your competitors? Are you too high? Are you too low? And what can you do to adjust? If you come out at a high rate, can you add more hours during your week? Or if you come out too low, can you raise your rates and be okay with that? So these are all conversations to have. There is no right, there is no wrong. I would say the only wrong is overworking, and the second wrong is not charging enough. If you go and do research and compare your rates to your competitors and you see that you're much lower, then something's not right there. I mean, if you're starting out and you only feel comfortably being at a lower rate, then you're at that lower rate, but you set a date that you up your rate, okay? Or you set a time, once you've had this many clients, you up your rate or customers. So really make sure that you're looking at that. The other thing is cost of living goes up every year. If you're not raising your rates a little bit every year, raise your rates every 2 years. If you're not raising your rates every 2 years, raise your rates every 5 years. If you haven't raised your rates in 5 years, call me. Let's figure out a strategy on how to do that, because your current clients and customers that have been working with you for 5 years may have a shocker if you suddenly jump 5 years of cost of living going up. So we need to figure that out and have a transitionary period so that you can catch back up. So I'm laughing about this because I have had a couple of clients that did that. They didn't change their rates for like 5, 10, 15 years. And they were, way under what their competitors were charging. And they were getting more work, but the value that they were giving was so great that their customers were actually asking them to raise their rates. So, so anyways, I just want to help you out in figuring out how many hours can you work a week, how many weeks a year do you want to work, and what is your hourly rate to get that. And if your hourly rate of what your competitors are charging and what you're willing to work is not getting you to that number that you want to be at, 100,000, 300,000, 500,000 on up, then what we need to look at is some passive income. How can you get some passive income coming in? Could you write some books? Is that really on your mind and something you want to do? Do you have some programs or products and services, other products and services that you could sell? Could you partner with someone? Is there some need that you have that you want to really get into, and then you can sell that product to pay for it? So there's different ways to do that. There's some affiliate programs out there that you could get into if you really want something. There's certain ways that you can earn it, right? So we can talk about other ways that you can increase or be able to afford the lifestyle that you want. Sometimes it's not just based on your hourly rate and just the service that you're providing as a coach or consultant. So I hope that has helped. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm available, and I look forward to talking to you more. Have a great day.